What's going on, Commonwealth, and welcome back to another episode of Bluegrass Soccer Cast, your home for all things soccer right here in the beautiful state of Kentucky. I'm Jimmy. That's John, of course. John, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. John, I want to start us out with a simple question for you, just because I want to get to know you a little bit better. What is your number one go to food and drink when you're at a Lexington game or any other kind of sporting event?
So at a Lexington game, when I do have the chance to go back and eat, which is far and in between, I typically they have Chick-fil-A sandwiches,
Oh,
but
sweet.
it's very much like the catered Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Still Chick
But
fil A.
I'll get those and a Mountain Dew, or I'll get like two hot dogs in a sense
Okay.
type
Just
thing.
solid regular hot dogs, or do you put anything on them?
I don't have time typically. If I'm eating a hot dog, I'll put like mustard and ketchup on them type thing. I wish I could do like a Detroit County dog, but that's hard
Oh,
to do.
I'm
Let's.
for my hot dogs, I'm a solid mustard only. I can't do ketchup. Like no
I
way, no
I
how.
worked at a Boy Scout summer camp for 6 years. At which on Monday nights we had a thing called Beast Feast where we would invite
Mm.
kids to like bring their own dishes and the kids would get creative with it. Well, we have a few staff stations, and one of the station I worked at was hot dogs. And so when you're mass cooking hot dogs on like a
Yeah,
flame grill, like I'm talking like Gordon Food Service hot dogs that come, they're like
the cheap
thrown in
stuff,
our
huh?
back freezer. Well, yeah, he's just serving like 1,000 hot dogs for one thing, and then thrown in the back freezer and just brought out for that day. They get a little crispy. So that's kind of where I picked up. That's kind of where I picked up the like mustard and ketchup thing. If I'm truly having a hot dog, I prefer the Detroit Coney style, which is chili. It's called Coney sauce. It's really just
Thank you.
kind of chili. It's really kind of what it is. It's like weird. It's hard. It's hard to explain, but it's basically chili. It's a little
It's
different.
like a
Raw,
thin chili, right?
yeah, like a
Yeah.
thinner kind of sauce chili. Raw onions, like chopped raw onions, and a thing of mustard.
Mm. That does
Skyline
sound
dogs
pretty
are
good.
stupid.
Wow, Cincinnati John just took a shot at you. Holy crap!
I'm sorry that those things are
Have you
just
been to a Skyline?
no. I
There's
haven't
one
been
in
to a skyline.
Lexington.
I don't care. I'm not going to a skyline. I don't go to a Gold Star. Just
No,
literally
don't go to Gold Star. That's like
in
the
my
Taco Bell
time, yeah,
option.
in my time at Berea College, which Berea either has some like local restaurants or fast food. The
Yep.
one fast food place I never went to was the Gold Star. Ever. I refused.
All right. Well, Gold Star and Skyline not going to be
Yeah.
sponsors anytime soon, unfortunately, because
But
that would be nice.
yeah. But at, like big stadiums, I prefer to find like the unique thing.
Mm.
Like the Reds have like funnel cake fries that they like deck out in
Ooh.
like whipped cream, chocolate syrup, that type of thing. Do not get the one at Comerica Park in Detroit. It's kind of gross. It's because the Tigers are owned by the same family that owns Little Caesars, so
Ah.
it's a Little
Was
Caesars
everything Little
pizza.
Caesars?
Well,
Like
no,
Little Caesars hot dogs, Little Caesars
no,
chili.
no. Little Caesars deep dish
Oh.
with like thin slices of hot dog and mustard
Oof.
over the top.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not. No
yeah,
shot. Nope.
no,
Mm-mm.
no. I
And
like both, but I don't like them together.
on that stomach turning note, John, let's go on and go off the top. So John, this week I really kind of struggled to find like some newsworthy topics to fill. I mean, in our Discord, I even said, "Hey, what do you want to talk about?" But here's kind of some topics that we came up with. I want to start by talking about how dominant the Racing Louisville women have been at the Women's World Cup so far this year. So far, the women from Racing Louisville have accounted for six goals and
They've
assists,
scored
or
six
they've
goals.
scored
They've
six.
accounted for 8 if you include Borges and get Themby's assists.
So in a lot of goals, I believe if we scroll on down here, yeah, there it is. That they are leading any other nation in goals, like like Europe or something like that, like the EPL. Racing Louisville is beating the EPL women's teams.
Yeah, as of Friday night, yeah. I don't know if that number's still in play because there's been some more games. Honestly, people have forgotten about like the back half groups.
Hey,
Even
look,
though they've had like the Colombia Germany game. I don't know
oh
if you
man,
could
that
argue
was
is
great.
you could make the argument that game was the game of the tournament so far.
It went back and forth and back and forth, and then France was in one.
France and
France
Brazil were
Brazil,
in
yeah, what a good
yeah,
one.
so it's good, and we have we have our first four teams have moved on. Two of the six of the racing teams are still going.
Yeah,
Australia and Nigeria got out of the group, so we both got the second one in that group wrong.
that's fine. New Zealand, what happened? Come on.
You know what happened with New Zealand? Which I learned this recently. The women's sporting director of Lexington is a former New Zealand international cap. Like she played for the first team in '91.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if she actually played in the tournament. I just know she played on that team. But New Zealand, it just happens. They're not New Zealand. Just like I said, they were in a tough group, tough draw. We'll see what happens. Type thing of no racing team out of the four remaining countries have been eliminated yet. They still can be like the U.S. For the we can move this into kind of match reviews and stuff. The U.S. has to win against Portugal to like guarantee their placement because the Netherlands can still, if the Netherlands blow out Vietnam, and we like draw 0-0 with Portugal, we're out.
And we'll dive into that here in just a second. But specifically, I want to go through your article here that you wrote over the weekend and talk about each of the players and talk about the ratings and stuff like that, because not everybody reads through the articles. Talk us through FootMob, OneFootball, how they come up with these scores.
Okay, so I don't fully know exactly how scores are determined. Overall, just put it this way: 6 is like considered mid. Like if you do a 6, you're like you're average. You're okay. I don't understand why it's 6 and not like 5. 5 would make more sense because you max out at 10. But if you see it, 6 is average. So anything below 6 means someone did below average for them. I do believe this is a rating based on players, and I think there's a standard per position, and then as FootMob or OneFootball understands how these players perform and stuff, they can kind of grade them in their scheme. But it's hard. It's really hard to understand. OneFootball is, I think, more statistically based.
Like completed passes and those kind of things?
Yeah, because their ratings are a lot more harsh than FootMob. Some others do it. There's famously a French like newspaper that does not give out 10s easily, and it's like and this is for men's football, specifically club football, and it's like a huge deal if a player earns a 10 from them. So it's like you had a monster game or like a legendary type game. But OneFootball and FootMob are like, in my opinion, the best. FootMob in particular is the best overall league tracker thing. FootMob is not that great, or no, sorry, OneFootball is not that great in the U.S. They only really cover MLS and USL Championship. They don't go lower, whereas FootMob does go lower, or at least to League One.
Right.
So they're the ones I use where I got the information from. So I'm not myself. I ain't ranking these people. I'm just literally pulling from the lineup what these apps had on them.
So knowing that 6 is mid, right? if you're looking at Savannah DeMillo's performance against Nigeria, against Netherlands, right above mid, and that seems pretty accurate for how how the team played while she was in there, right?
Yeah, so anything from a 7 up is a good performance. It's
Yeah,
good.
but it's not
It's not
great.
great. Yeah,
Like
7
we're
up is
USA, we want all 8s or 9s,
yes,
easy.
but you can't. It's insanely impossible unless you're blowing someone out to get all 8s, all 9s. You can pull up Lexington's game against Union Omaha where they won 3-0. There's not even across the board 8s and 9s
Mm.
type
Not
thing.
even for Knight. Wow.
I think Knight has I think he has, but I'm saying overall, like
Right.
there's a defender that gets beat a few times, may not win all the tackles, and that drops them down a little bit. But overall, if someone's a 7 up, they had a good game. You could say they had a good game. If they're between 7 and 6, they were average, they were okay, and anything below that means they were kind of subpar. And then 9 and up truly means a good game. I would say 8.5 and higher. So 7 to 8.5 is good to great, and 8.5 higher is like awesome. They were like that's player of the game worthy, man of the match, woman of the match, however they name it. But DeMello, in particular, her style, midfielders, especially if you're not like the attacking player getting assists, that type of thing, and backline, it's hard to rate midfielders overall because it's so hard to understand their role.
Yeah, because they could be very aggressive and playing up top. They can be a little more pulled back and playing in the defensive end. Like, it is difficult to see how they can compete to get those higher scores, right?
Yes. So, and it all depends on the system they're in. Like, surprisingly enough, both Kentucky's men's professional teams run a very similar formation right now.
Isn't that like fascinating? Like, I was looking at the games over the weekend. I hate to interrupt you, and I'm really sorry, but I am absolutely just going to derail for a second. There was times this weekend that they looked like they were the exact same teams, just in different stadiums. Sorry.
And it works. So Louisville runs a 5-3-2, and Lexington runs a 3-5-2. So Cruz is having more a defensive minded shape, where Stockley's kind of more a possession attack,
right?
In a sense, which it all plays with strength. In my opinion, the 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 is to me is the best. I don't like 4-4-2. I don't like 4-4-3-3. I think they're too basic. They work at a national team sense because those are more like you're having to bring in players. You do not have as much training time, but in a club sense, I don't like them.
Yeah,
overall,
it's simpler,
I like more,
right? It's easier to break down.
So the U.S. runs a 4-3-3, and it works for them. But what it didn't for DeMello, she plays on the right. She plays as a right midfielder. Now, and both men and women have run a 4-3-3 in the World Cup. From what you watch, it's very different. What's the guy's name? Vlatko runs more of an attacking 4-3-3. So that's where
very aggressive, very go for it, and that's the role that Savannah kicks in,
and that's why it's good.
Yeah,
Berhalter ran a way more defensive one with MAM. And so that's why you see like Musa and it was Musa Adams. Who's the other M? Oh, McKennie.
Oh,
so you see way more defensive structure. And so I think it's just the way play. Now, in the article, a lot of people are questioning, one, with the U.S. and DeMello, why she was subbed off for Roosevelt. Yes, Roosevelt is much more experienced type of thing, but she was playing great.
Yeah.
You could argue it worked out in the end because they got the goal, but also a lot of people are pointing to why did Vlatko only make one sub?
Yeah, and that was interesting overall in that match. Like, you've got a great bench. Why are you like literally their bench would be a starting 11 in any other country in the world? Like, and I don't feel like that's a hot take either. Like, that seems to be a pretty standard fact. So why did you only make that one change? And then what was really different, right? Like, yes, Rose Lavelle, lots of experience. Clearly, there was a greater sense of attack once she came in. I don't know if that was more because the role that Savannah was asked to play. Was she asked to play further back, or was she asked to for Rose to go forward more?
From what I watched, I think it was more desperation, and
That's what it felt like, right?
and the Netherlands in particular, I don't think they planned to be going up that early.
Yeah.
So I think the Netherlands themselves were shocked
Yep.
at it. Well, here's the thing. Every team does plan to go in and get the lead and keep it. But there's this like the subconscious thing that players have that I think would play a role in this game. Because if you watched specifically like the last 20 minutes, the Netherlands were parking that bus so hard. They were they wouldn't even counterattack. There were so many times the Netherlands could have easily counterattacked and maybe even broken the tie, but they were so worried about not breaking the tie on their own end. There was that like 3 or 4 corner kicks in a row for the U.S. and then the Netherlands just ball watched it leave the box. They didn't even move. They were
didn't even go for it.
And I'm like, there was a point I was like, this is awesome for the U.S. We weren't able to capitalize, but I'm like, yo, your country's thing is counterattacking. Like literally,
why are you not counterattacking?
Yeah. So that's that game. Really, Sav played good. I would have liked to see her in the second half. We'll see what happens. I'm curious if it's just he's not sure how to use Lavelle and MLO. Like they're both starter case. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if he genuinely believes Lavelle's better, and it's just because she's coming off an injury. So he's like Sav, eat most of the minutes, and Rose will finish it out. I don't know. All I know is in both games they've been subbed for each other. Or DeMelo's been subbed for Lavelle, and in the last game it was the only sub. So.
Yeah, interesting a match, and again, we'll break that down here in just a little bit, but we'll move on here to Lex.
Yeah, I don't know why it did that. It's Alex Chidiac. So she finally saw action. I don't know if she did play in today's match or not. I haven't looked at that. I was more prepping for this than looking for my next report, where Australia rolled Canada.
Absolutely dominated them. What was it? 3-0?
4-0.
4-0. Okay, I didn't see the
without
last
Sam Kerr.
Jeez. They're going to be a problem.
Yeah. Where is she? I will say Chidiac played well. She did come in and create some more chances for Australia in this 3-2 loss to Nigeria. The thing is, a lot of people actually in Australia, I found through my searching on Twitter, are very curious of why Chidiac is not starting or not playing. They think it
doesn't look like she played today.
No. I'm trying to find her. I'm probably reading over her. No, she did not play. Sorry. But people are very curious why she's not playing. It seems she's never started under this coach, which a lot of people question in Australia. So I don't know exactly what's going on with it. There's even some other Australian coaches are out calling it like she should be starting. So I don't know if maybe there's a riff or she doesn't fit the scheme. She didn't play long enough for FootMob to rate her because she came in the 85th, I think, or 80th.
Yeah, very late.
Yeah, and then by one football, that's 6.3.
Yeah.
To get a 6.3 playing 10 minutes is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because that's very little time to move the needle at all. And the fact that she did move it even some proves that she had a positive impact, at least.
I mean, even what you said here, like, very good on her passes, 4 to 5, created chances, 1 accurate cross, 2 shots on goal. And that was a big difference, right? Like, yeah, Australia was trying to get the equalizer in that one, but like she made a difference. Why is she not playing more?
I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens if Sam Kerr gets in, which I think Sam Kerr will be back, which Australia survived. They rolled Canada, which had their own issues, I think,
Yep.
truly.
We talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
I don't count out Australia because of their weak group performance. I think they went 1-1-1, or no, they did 2-0-1.
Yeah,
they won 2 games
because their only loss was to Nigeria.
Yeah, and then they won their opener. But don't count out Australia because they're getting arguably one of the best players in the world back. Granted, she's going to be coming off an injury, so we can see what happens. But that Sam Kerr is the heart and soul of Australia's team, so they're getting their person back, and maybe Chidiac. Maybe we'll see more from Chidiac because maybe it's a thing where she works better with Kerr,
play off each other a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Well, on the other side from the Matildas was Nigeria and Kanu
is how the broadcast at least calls her.
Got 7.7 on both. Pretty good performance.
Oh, she played great. She got the equalizer. For those that don't know, it was like Australia scored first, then Nigeria. Kanu equalized. This is all like right in extra time or stoppage time of the first half, and then Nigeria scored 2 unanswered, and then Australia got a late one. So it was a very back and forth match. But Kanu opened it up, and this was, I think that was Nigeria's first goal because they got shut. It was. She scored Nigeria's first goal of the tournament too because they got shut out against Canada.
Right.
And it was a great run, great goal, little tap in towards the end. The goal itself wasn't like insane, but she right place, right time. And overall she played great. She's very much part of their attack. She's crucial to it. And she's was actually surprisingly even better on the defensive side of the ball.
But I think that's where she really that's more of her role, right? Like she's gonna build into the defense a little bit more naturally, and that's just maybe that's from the style that they play in Nigeria. But I don't know. It was great to see her have those opportunities, completing as many passes as she did, delivering great balls into the box. Just overall, very good performance in front of a huge crowd, almost 50,000 people, right? Like you want to talk about a road game? Oof.
Yeah, it's the attendances for this tournament is weird because this tournament has been shattering projections. So they didn't think this many people would attend the entire tournament as a whole. But then at the same time, people are like, I've seen some of the more misogynistic comments are like, well, there's only been there was one that had like under 10,000. I was like, give me a second. I could probably find you a men's World Cup game that had under 10,000. There's plenty of pictures out there. A lot of people questioned Qatar's reporting because they would be like sold out and people would be like, there's whole sections are empty. So
not even just Qatar, like Russia was also very barren, right?
Even the U.S. one. The 1994 World Cup has the highest attendant World Cup ever. There were stadiums that had empty seating. It just happens. There's so many games, and it's hard. I haven't reached the 1994 World Cup, so I don't necessarily know every single team in it. But it's hard for those. I'm working on a project to determine what are the best countries in the World Cup. I have points awarded for certain levels, like making the World Cup is a point. But there's some countries that are hard to travel for. In general, the people there aren't that rich.
Mm-hmm.
So traveling, and in the U.S. as a whole, like I don't think people understand who are planning. If you are listening to this in Europe or that type of stuff and you don't understand, it's like, oh, I can go to Atlanta and I'll go to like Houston or that type of thing, just back-to-back days. And like, if you're not flying that's
no way.
impossible.
No shit.
And And people brought this up in terms of training and stuff, is that to some players, this World Cup might feel more like their club style, because a lot of times they have camps. Like
Mhm.
right now, the U.S. has a camp or a
Yep.
base in Auckland or whatever it is. Some are different. Germany and Qatar like decided to be like 50 kilometers away from any civilization and like a villa. Others like being in a hotel. Every country's different, but you can't do that in the U.S. I don't know how they're setting up the groups. It could be groups are more in one area, so they might be able to do that. But
No, I
there
don't
could
think so
be.
because I think I saw some possible group matchups. I don't think there were any that were like one in Canada, one in USA, one in Mexico. But it would be like you might play in like Monterrey, Mexico, and then your next game may be in Seattle or something like that. Like
I think maybe it was Houston. Like it's not like around one city, but it's kind of like geographical areas
maybe I was
at
slightly
least.
exaggerating.
I think it's at least geographical areas. So like if the groups are in the Northeast, they're not going to go to Seattle
Right.
per se. So I think it's more geographical areas. But no, Kanu got the equalizer. She did great. The Super Falcons are, as we said earlier, they're into the knockouts
With the draw
now.
today against the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, and they're gonna play knockouts. They're set to play the winner of Group D, which is looking like England. So that could be a tough matchup.
Good luck, Super Falcons.
Yep.
But I think that could be an interesting match, though, right?
Oh, it could be a very interesting match, specifically because England has 2 wins, but England doesn't have 2 dominant wins.
Right.
So it's very interesting. And then we have, in my opinion, the best racing performance of the second match, or second group stages, is Sembi Garata.
That was impressive.
Who, while yes, her team bottled it, she played amazing. Got a goal, got an assist, created a bunch of chances.
Perfect on her passes. 14 out of 14. Come on now.
That's hard to do. Now, granted, just what some people might constitute a pass and what some others might is different. Like Tiki Taka famously inflates players' passing stats, but South Africa doesn't play Tiki Taka.
No.
But in general, being perfect as a striker or attacker with passing is really hard to do. Midfielders and defense, that's one thing, but that she's like in the final third, she's playing more against more kind of outmanned competition. It's gonna be hard to complete that many, and she did insane. Oh yeah, this was the match that had like under 10,000, had like 8,000 fans.
Yeah.
But
it was an important match, right? And I would have liked to have seen South Africa get the victory in this one because I think they were the better side. Argentina did get the draw, though. But that does set up some interesting things for Wednesday morning. South Africa plays in that 3 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Central matchup against Italy, which with a win, they may still get in, right?
there's like, I think all but like 2 groups remaining, maybe even one group, like 1 through 3, or at least 2 and 3. 2 through 4 for some groups are still up for grabs for like to get that second spot into the knockouts, and at least some groups are 2 through 3. Like
Yeah, I mean, in this group,
technically the group the US is in, it's 1 through 3
yeah,
because the top spot's still up for grabs, though I believe it's more of a 2 and 3 because I think the Netherlands are going to beat Vietnam.
yeah,
I think
but
the
by how
US is
much
going to
though?
Yeah, I think the US is going to beat Portugal, but again, anything can happen.
Yep.
Don't count them out type
Nah.
thing. Portugal look good. That Portugal has a win type thing. We've seen stranger happen at the World Cups type thing. And and I'll say this. I was going to say this for later. Abby Wambach said it best after this. She said this on the Today Show. It's not that the U.S. is bad or taking a step back. The rest of the world has caught up,
Oh, for sure.
type thing. And that's just what people need to understand. We are at the point where the U.S. is no longer just head and shoulders above everyone else. It has to be remembered when Pele won 3, that was his third was in like the 70s, I think 74 type thing. That's 50 years ago.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
It's so hard to repeat in the men's. It hasn't happened for a while. Even in my report, I'm going to be breaking up like unified Germany and West Germany. It's strangely weird how close they are together, but there's some breakage. Like the men's game had a point where like 3 countries dominated, and now it's back normal. And you just got to remember the women's game has gotten to the point in 50 years where it's back to it. 50 years ago, some countries, and it still is in some, it was illegal for women to play football.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking England in the 60s under Queen Elizabeth, who people see as somewhat progressive, controversial in my opinion. It was illegal. They couldn't play. You weren't allowed to play in school and stuff. Like, as bad as like the U.S. needed Title IX and stuff, it wasn't illegal for women to play sports.
Right.
It was frowned upon. You wouldn't get any funding whatsoever, and you could argue some don't now. But it wasn't like you could be arrested for playing basketball.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get into any of that. That's way outside of our show. And welcome to the to where we are today. Hopefully, things continue to get better, where everybody can have access to the world sport, no matter what. But if you're looking into that Group G there, Sweden definitely are through, right? I believe they've won the
both.
group.
Yeah, they've won both. They're secured.
So then it comes down to Italy, who has 1 win and 1 loss, who face South Africa. So if South Africa can get the win, they would have 4 points. Italy would only have the 3. Then it would just be dependent on the result of the Argentina-Sweden game to see if Argentina can get the win and move on.
Yeah, so
there is some goal differential stuff too. Italy has a -4 goal differential, which is pretty bad. So they would need to beat South Africa to lock up moving on, obviously.
Yeah.
But a draw wouldn't do them any good.
Yeah, and if we're also talking, I believe if we want to move on to Wang Xing, she next. I believe she's next. Yep. China and
Before
Denmark.
we dive into China, Haiti. What happened, John?
They've only lost by 2. To be fair, they've only lost each game, and the first game that was a boneheaded play. I've never before seen a soccer player jump with like a basketball player.
Yeah,
and that's what happened. You could make some arguments they did not. There was some questionable refereeing in China versus Haiti. You can make some arguments. There was that no call penalty by some. Our producer thinks otherwise. It's debatable. It's a debatable penalty. No call, penalty call. In general, China was down 10 men for a while. They really only got a goal because of a penalty. In my case, China did not look like the better team. Outside of that, they got a lucky penalty, which, yes, Wang Sheng scored, and that's great for racing and all that type of stuff. But she's also another where she's subbed on in the second half. So her and Chidiac, I don't understand, because Wang Sheng, for those that haven't really been paying attention, she has her own like Nike commercial along the lines of Sophia Smith, Megan Rapinoe, Depia, that like Nike's pushing, and she's like this big deal in China.
But she's coming off the bench.
Yeah, she's coming off the bench. And they're not looking great. They haven't secured their thing. They have a even goal differential, and they play. I believe they play. Yeah, they play Denmark next, which decides second place. England is secured first spot
with 6 points. Yeah.
Well, 10. Well, no, or did it? No, I think China plays England.
I was saying England has 6 points.
Who does? Does England play China?
China.
Oh yeah, it's China, England next.
Yeah.
Sorry. So that's even more interesting because that means Denmark plays Haiti.
Yeah.
So they
So
can
you
play
would
spoilers.
think Denmark would easily knock out the Haitians, or maybe not easily, but 1-2 goals, played strong defense, and should be able to move on. But if Haiti can come to life,
I don't see
and
Haiti just pushing over. Like we saw
no,
that with Zambia. Zambia beat Costa Rica after they got throttled in their first 2 matches. I
now
don't
Costa
see.
Rica laid down in that one.
You could argue, but I also think this is good for China because England's securing the group.
Yep.
I'm not saying the whole, like, for those that don't know, there's a reason that the final group stage matches kick off at the same time because there was I think it was the 74 World Cup. Germany and Austria, like, if one of them won by 1-0, they both moved on. And it was like known before they went into that match because their previous match was played, or the previous group stage match. And it was like it like took out Algeria out of it, and type thing. So that's why group stage matches are all the final ones are played at the same time. It's to prevent like players from just going, oh, that one of us scored a goal, we're both through. Okay.
Right. Like,
Because if you watch that game, they threw that so bad. They didn't even look like they were trying. It was miserable. So I could see England, though. They've secured the group. I could see them not pushing their injured players.
right,
Maybe not
playing their
playing so
aces.
hard. Yeah. We saw that with France in the Men's World Cup. People
Mhm.
forget. I think it was Cameroon or like Guyana beat France in their final group stage match because France just went, nope, Mbappe, sit down. Griezmann, sit down. We need you for the knockouts. Don't need to get hurt on the final thing. We have the group secured. And they won. And so I could see that benefiting China. They still can't bank on that.
No.
They are playing the tougher opponent out of Denmark-China split. So let's see. I'm hoping with this, Wang Sheng plays the whole game, and ideally she helps win it for them in some fashion.
And that match is tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern.
So right after U.S. Portugal.
Yep, right after
U.S. Portugal.
Yeah, that would be the match after because it's 3 and 4, right? Or 3 and 2 or something like that. 3 a.m. 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then
we have Borges,
who has a very different score, and I don't understand the difference. Like, how could one be a 4 and the other be a 7?
This is where I like FootMob more because FootMob looks at overall, where I think OneFootball looks at individual more so. But Borges got what I call a hockey assist. For those that don't know, in hockey, if I make a pass and then the other guy makes a pass and the third guy scores, the first guy gets an assist off of that. And she literally got it. It was pass, goal. It was like one touch, or Borgie set herself up, passes, and then it goes to Themby, whatever it was. It was a combination play. It was Barca-esque tiki-taka Man City type thing. So she played great. She played good. It's hard to live up to a hat trick assist game. It's really hard.
Very, very hard.
But Brazil is another one who's in trouble. And they have the cards in their favor because I believe they're next. Yeah, they play Jamaica next, who is above them in the group. France hasn't secured it yet, so Brazil technically can win the group still because France only has 4 points. Brazil has 3, and they play Jamaica next, but I don't count the Reggae Girls. They can play upset type thing. So we'll see what happens. Jamaica tied France, or no, they beat. Yeah, Jamaica tied France, so who beat Brazil. So don't count them out. Anything can happen. I would love to see all 6 countries go through of racing, but it's very questionable. And
Well, in that Jamaica France game, there was a red card shown to Jamaica. So
Mhm.
I'm not saying that they could have won if that hadn't happened. But statistically speaking, when you're down a person, it's a lot harder to win. That's the
Oh,
kind of in-depth analysis you can look forward to me on this show.
yeah. So it's all crazy and stuff, but we'll see what happens. I do hate that a majority of these games are all like in the early mornings. We don't have any that like maybe 8 a.m. starts or 9 p.m. It's all early, which I get. It's rest type thing, prepping for the knockout more so. They're playing these mid afternoons in Australia and New Zealand rather than playing way late at night for U.S. people. Even then, the Netherlands U.S. game set the viewership record for a group stage match, which I found surprising because it was 9 p.m., which still technically prime time in the East.
Yeah.
Later prime time in the East, but it was a Wednesday, so that's like people have to get up in the morning type thing. Is
Yeah, but it's
where
one of those things, right? Like you would be willing to, at least me, right? Like I would rather stay up a little bit later for something like that than have to go to bed for a couple of hours, wake up, and then watch the game, and then try to go back to sleep or something like that. So I could see, more people staying up for that kind of a situation.
I'm curious the viewership for this next one.
I don't know if I will.
I am planning to watch it, but it's in the sense I'm going to turn on the TV in my bedroom, mute the sound, and if I fall asleep, I fall asleep. I'm not going to like be like trying to stay awake, but I'll like if it grips me, it grips me. If it becomes one of them boring games,
Right.
it happens in soccer, it happens in all sports. I'm going to
We
fall
get a
asleep.
0-0 draw kind of a situation. Ugh,
Yeah.
that would be tough. But, John, let's move on to our second story from off the top here. Lou City set the second highest attendance record in stadium history on Saturday night with their Fill the Fam event for their match against Indy 11. 13,248 was the total that was given,
Okay.
which is the second highest, only behind last year's, which was against Tampa Bay Rowdies, where they had 14,673. Can you name any of the 3, 4, or 5 most attended matches? Nope.
I can't. No. My
You want to
best
take a
guess is
shot at any of them?
they're probably their 1 through 4 finals appearances.
One of them was
Only one.
only one.
They've been in the final of the playoff
Yeah.
4 times, and that's
Yeah.
only one of those.
But not all of those were at Lynn Family.
Okay, fair. I was just throwing off the top of my head. Opener, first game at Lynn Family.
No.
Really?
Yeah. So number 3, June 12th, 2021, Lou City versus Memphis 901 FC, 12,115. Fourth, and this is the one that stuns me, October 15th. So I think this was either the conference final or the league final against Hartford Athletic, 12,096. And earlier that same season, 2022, Lou City versus Charleston Battery, 11,981.
Okay.
So,
and I've figured out my error from last week when I was like, I thought it only seats 11,000. They do only seat 11,600 in terms of seats.
Yep.
They have about 4,000 ish in terms of standing space. So it can max out at, according to this, 15,304. That's from their actual website, which I'm curious how they know it's 15,304 for standing room.
I'm sure it's some kind of algorithm, that a human takes up X amount of space. We have Y number of space to fill. blah blah. Do the math.
I will
You're in
say
grad school.
I could not watch this match because I was obviously at the Lexington game, but it did not look filled when I watched
No.
the highlights. And I was like, is this a case of counting tickets sold?
Yeah, they were definitely counting tickets sold. Because I did watch it. So, I did the little double screen, kind of like we have here. I had the Lexington game on one, I had the Louisville game on the other, and it didn't feel full visually, but hearing it and at least what the
Oh,
announcers
it
were
sounded
saying, right?
full.
Yeah,
It
it
sounded
sounded full. They
I don't know
felt
if it's a
very
case.
energetic.
I don't know if it's a case of Lynn's like their just main stand is the same size as the camera as
Yeah.
it is for Lexington,
Yep.
which if you watch the Lexington game, because of the sun and the heat, there's like 4
Oh,
people on the
yeah.
far side.
And
But
bless those people.
I can tell you the whole grandstand was filled.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's one of the bad things about that stadium, right? Like it constantly looks terrible to have nobody on the other side. Like that very first match against Madison, right? That was good because that whole side was full and it really felt like you could feel the energy. Since then, after you all moved over to the other side, John being with the Railbirds, that's what I'm referring to. So John moved to the other side. There's like 5 people on the other side, and shout out to those people
yeah,
baking in the sun.
it sucks because that's also like the way the sun sets there. That's you're literally looking at the sun.
Yeah.
So it does suck for that sense, that type of thing. But personally, you don't move the camera over there because that's then pointing the camera in the sun.
Yeah, that would be even worse.
That you get the Red Wolves look going then, who
Red
have,
Wolf.
in my opinion, the worst camera well in the league. It's so bad. It's not even high. It's like really low,
It's like
and it's
right on
in the
that.
sun all the time. Nearly as bad as Richmond. Richmond's is kind of bad too, but theirs is the least high up.
Now I missed the Lexington game at Richmond, so I didn't get to see that. So we'll have to
Yeah,
find that
it
clip.
might have been the sun type thing too, but I think it's just how that stadium's built. It makes it for a weird place to put them. But yeah, they played in front of a bunch of fans. It was just what they needed. They got their weird looking traffic barrel trophy back.
Yeah, that was interesting, right?
Which props to them. I want to know, Luke fans, what the like acronym is. The LIPAAFC thing, because that's like the hashtag that I kept seeing, and it's on the barrel, type thing. But in terms of like a manufactured rivalry, like for those that don't know, Indy 11 and Lou City just decided like, oh, we're an hour apart. We're rivals now. When they didn't really, like a lot. I've spoken with some Indy fans, and they don't like view the city of Louisville as a rival in a sense. It's just kind of like they manufactured it, and that's why a traffic barrel with the 2 hours.
2 hours, an hour 45.
Forgiveth me.
You said that, and I was like, "Oh my god, is it really only an hour?"
It's
No,
close. That's an hour and
it
a half.
is a lot
That's closer
closer
than
than I thought.
Lexington. That's closer than Lexington and Knoxville.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I got distracted with that one.
They picked that. So for those that don't know, the trophy, if you even want to call it that, of this rivalry is literally a traffic barrel.
Yeah.
With this like acronym on it. I don't even know if it's an acronym. I think it's just someone found the traffic barrel and it's maybe the company on it of like LPFAAC, something along those lines. And then they take is it 64?
I-65.
65. They have someone vandalized or either paid to have a proper interstate sign, and it's like secured on top of that. And that is the trophy for this rivalry. I don't know if the teams own it or if it's just a supporter group trophy. I don't know necessarily who keeps it, but it's one of the more interesting trophies in sports. It's very reminiscent of the weird trophies we see in college football.
Yeah, I just tried to do a little quick googly goog search for it and couldn't find it. But yes, like it is literally an orange barrel
They didn't, like, it's not even painted. They didn't
No,
let's paint every other line, the colors of the
nope.
teams or everything.
Uh,
No, it's literally just straight an orange barrel with the 65 thing secured to the top. You can find it on Twitter if you follow like the 24 or the purple people eaters probably posted something. The Coopers probably posted something with it.
it's funny you
Uh,
mentioned the purple people eaters because that's exactly where I went to see if yeah, there it is. All right, hold on. How do I make this work?
Share your screen.
I'm driving the ship, so hold on, guys. This is dangerous territory.
Share your screen like you did with the article.
Boom. Thank you, Captain. I got it. So that's
There
what
we
it looks like.
Oh,
With
I
a
didn't
little
realize
tiny
it's
trophy.
a tiny trophy on top.
Yeah.
So
love
yeah,
it.
at least from this picture, it's
Yeah.
a supporter trophy.
Yep. Which
So that
and it
means
was great to see them there. Like they had a big banner. They had a very full section of Indy fans. There was a lot of red in that stadium. Now I don't know if that was Louisville Cardinals red versus Indy 11 red. I couldn't tell that from my couch.
yeah, and those who don't know, the like one full section they throw away fans in the upper deck corner of a game if you're coming as a supporter.
Which are not terrible seats, but
No, they're still good seats, but like when Lexington was going in the Open Cup, I shared the link. I got shared the like supporter Pacific link, and some people are like, "Those seats suck." I'm like, "That's kind of the point."
right, like
They're not going to put the other fan supporter group right behind the other goal or whatever, that type of thing. They're going to put you in the worst seats possible. There's worse away-ins around the world than that.
oh yeah, where you're literally like in a cage almost. But anyways, John, let's go on and use this as a good transition point and dive into the bottom line for this week. So as we were mentioning there, Lou City, Indy 11, Lou City taking home the trophy, taking home the victory 2-0. A great bounce back victory for Lou City, right? They were really convincing the entire game. They were much more threatening on offense. With the victory, they got bumped all the way up to fourth place in the Eastern Conference standing. So, Lou City fans, we can breathe a little bit. We can relax. We're not in sixth place anymore.
4 spots clear now.
Right. Little bit easier breathing.
They looked like a whole new team. I don't know if it's the rest. Adams looked really good.
Adams, he just went in and played. Did he play all 90?
I think he got subbed off very, very late. From
Okay.
what I saw. But yeah, it was a great game for Lou. Their attack was way better.
Oscar Jimenez, what a performance!
Great performance. Winders, is that Winders' older brother scored?
Is it older or younger? I think it's younger.
He's 20. I know that. Winder's 18 or Josh 18. I thought. Yeah, I think he has two brothers. I think there's a younger one that's in the academy too.
Yeah.
I don't know. If it's not even no relation, I apologize. It's just the sure Winder that scored looks very close to Josh Winder.
Yes.
Just want to say. You can very much show that I'm not a Lou City like diehard type thing. But their attack looked much better in general. I don't know if it's because they were rested, full health. They had Owen B. They had Lancaster. Lancaster wasn't playing as much hero ball from what I saw.
And that kind of makes a difference, right? Like they played more as a team, and they didn't feel as good as they have at different points this season where they were pushing for the top seed, right? But they did feel closer to a competitive side than what we've seen in the last month and a half, where we've been kind of freaking out.
It looked more like old-fashioned Lou City.
It did. And I think that's what the fans deserved. I'm pointing to my second screen like you can see what I'm pointing at. But, they passed out the flags at the game. They had a great crowd, and it was really something to behold, right? Like if the commentators kept talking about the energy in the stadium was back. But here's my challenge for Lou City now. Are you going to be able to keep this going? in your next matchup this coming weekend, can you keep that energy up? Can you stay at that top level? Or was this a situation where Indy 11 was coming off a midweek game? They were tired. It was hot
Did
and blazes out there.
they just
Like,
use up all their magic
right.
to get
Did
3
ev-
goals against the top of the league? Were
Yeah.
they more caring about the Riverhounds, who are top of the league, than Lou City?
Right.
Could be multiple things. But if Lou City bounce back from this and they keep this going and they play like Lou City of old, that I think makes them even deadlier, and in my opinion, makes them championship contenders now, like
Agreed.
people thought they were. Because to me, if you're a championship team that's had a struggle, that makes you deadlier because you've gotten all these like issues out. It's not like you're just kind of riding, oh, that's a little stumble, whatever, keep riding type thing. No, you got out like the little issues. You had to address the tiny issues in your team because you had to win.
Right. Well, I don't know. I think it was a good performance, and I think Lou City is now back on track. But can they stay on that? That'll be the big question. Last point,
They're
John.
on the track, and they need to see if they can move forward.
Yes. That's all I got. I meant to do this a second ago, but we appreciate anyone who is always supporting the show. We have a lot of great viewers. We have a lot of great interactions on our Discord. But if you want to go a step further and you want to buy us a coffee, make sure you scan that QR code on the screen here to send us a coffee. $1, $5, whatever you want to donate. We really appreciate it. All of it goes back to this podcast. It's helping us grow our platform to be the best that it can be. But John, want to go back to stay in Louisville, and let's talk about what unfortunately happened to Racing Louisville. They had their first group stage loss over the weekend to the Houston Dash 1-0. But even with the loss, they did still clinch a spot in the semifinals of the Challenge Cup.
And for this match, I wouldn't call it unfortunate because you got to give props to Dash's keeper. I think it's Jade Campbell. She played out of her mind.
Yep.
And Racing's keeper was great. Like, the one goal was she got her foot on. She just had her foot at the wrong angle. That's all that literally happened. Her foot was at the wrong angle and went in the back of the net.
Right.
Overall, this was Racing was the better team.
Absolutely.
They were way more attacking. That Campbell for the Dash stood on her head, to use a hockey term, and just every corner kick that Pickett put in was almost a great ball. She just got her hands in there. She was diving. She got, like, sometimes you just hit a good keeper or a keeper that's on their day. It just happens. And now, yes, because of other results, they clinched, I believe it's semifinal.
Yep, semifinal berth. Yep,
they're in the semifinals of the Cup, so now they can kind of maybe ease off the gas in the Challenge Cup because they're in this. We'll see.
Well, you called it on Wednesday. You said that this match was a potential trap game on the road. Hot Houston.
On the road,
not hot in the sports team. Hot from temperature outside. Good God.
Yeah, and
105 or something like that.
Yeah, there was a point where I saw that. I was like, do Houston just not have fans? Because it was dead. Like, that stadium was dead. And then I was like, okay, let me look at the heat. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, the Dash definitely has fans.
Humid too.
Yeah.
Houston's humid too. It's not just like dry heat.
But yeah, and Houston, don't come for us. We know Dash. Y'all got your fans. We know. Hold on. Chill out.
Support. That was just like, there was no energy, and I was like, what is going on?
But I think it was just the perfect storm, right? Like, everything had already been going Racing's way the entire run so far. Of course, you're going to have a hiccup. Now, how do they bounce back? So similar to Lou City, right? They had faced multiple adversity matches in a row. Now Racing has to come back from this one, and they will have a chance to earn home field advantage throughout the rest of the playoffs, depending on how some of the other results go, especially with like OL Reign and stuff. But especially to get home field advantage in their semifinal match when they play against Kansas City on Saturday. And they've already beaten Kansas City 2-3 times this season already. So you would think it would be another easy victory for Racing Louisville. But I'm going to tell you right now, KC is looking for blood in this one.
Yeah, they're of the three groups. They're a point behind OL Reign.
Yeah. So still a lot of play for Racing Louisville. Would love to see Paige and some of the other folks
playing for the top of the group as well. They're only 2 points behind, so this is
crucial.
This is crucial and this is interesting. How does this semifinal work? Because it shows 3 teams.
Great question.
It shows.
I don't know.
It shows. So there's 3 groups, and both top 2s from all groups advance.
Yeah.
So how in the world does that work?
There's got to be some kind of like pre-quarterfinal ish match beforehand, but with some of those, and then I think like your 1 and 2 get the automatic bids to the semifinals. So I think OL and Racing are already in the semifinals, and I think they call the other ones like semifinals, and I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
I've tried following the NWSL the best I can. It's very hard.
It is, and I think part of that is because it's mostly on Paramount Plus, which I don't have, and I don't have a lot of interest in getting it.
I have Paramount Plus. It's the factor of I feel like I find out about games after they happen.
Yeah.
I think it's the pre stuff they don't hype up enough. Like, if you follow a team, you obviously are going to know about their games. But I don't think, like, the league as a whole. Like, even I'm on The Athletic, which does a lot of good women's soccer coverage, but it's a lot of post, I feel, than pre. So,
John, let's head out of Louisville now, and let's head down to Lexington, where there was a really entertaining match. And Lexington Sporting Club got a 2-2 draw with the Richmond Kickers. Lexington battled back from being down 1-0 in order to get that draw. Don Smart had a record-setting goal on a penalty to equalize for Lexington. Richmond scored first and took the lead early in the 16th minute off a free kick. But like I mentioned, Lexington came back and drew it up.
So, yeah, the Lexington overall was the better team in this game. They started slow off the gate in the first 15 minutes. For those who don't know, 4 goals were scored in this match. 3 were within the first 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was very weird.
Started out firecracker.
Yeah. The 2 goals for Richmond, the first one was a knuckleballer. That's the only way I can say it. It does not look like it hits anybody after he shoots it, but then it just hits the ground randomly and then bounces off. So I think it's just a knuckleball, which is hard for any keeper in traffic to get. And then the second goal, same guy, I think it's Vinyls. I don't know how to say it. It's just a ripper from 20 yards out, free kick, top corner. Like no keeper stopping that. It's just like that perfect goal. It's like the Lancaster missed goal free kick where he just hit the crossbar against Indy 11. It's just one of those where but the Richmond's ones went in. It's just what it is. Overall, Lexington was better. They got a draw out because of a miscue by a midfielder, Finch, I think his name was, for Richmond, which I'm not one to critique jerseys too much. Richmond's jerseys, away jerseys, are like silver on white.
Yeah, and it was weird. Like their crest was that same thing.
The front looked okay. But trying to read players' names was impossible. I could make out numbers because they're big enough, but names were impossible to read.
Yeah.
And also their keeper has a mouth.
Oh, okay. Tell us about it. Give us that firsthand knowledge.
Well, he wasn't chirping us or any of that type of thing, but if you watch games, you can hear keepers. Admiral Knight is very much. I've rewatched games, you can pick him up. But his, in the sense, is just yelling like away, keeper, back. Like he's just kind of doing. The Richmond guy was like cussing, like straight up, like yelling F words. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's a card per se, but I feel like if you are like very
It's
loudly,
excessive vulgar language.
audible, which another point to that is that the ref had no control
Oh
of this
my
game
god, it was
whatsoever.
horrible.
Players were having to flop to get
Yeah.
foul calls. Like I wanted to say that in the article, but I chose not to. But players were actively like overselling things. They weren't like staying on the ground in any sense. But you saw the thing, I think it was Mitchell did a challenge and the player like flipped. I don't think he hit him that hard.
No
collide
shot.
to flip. I think he just knew if I don't sell this the way this ref is calling, you could call it a foul or not, in my opinion. But if I don't sell this, he's not going to call it in my favor. And then there was literally a fight, not necessarily a fight. There was more of a altercation in each other's faces. No one was pushing around, but it took
A scuffle,
Balogun
if you will.
coming in from like who ran past the referee to get Richmond players off of Ates Diouf, where he pushed him. And I got worried when I saw Balogun push players because, like, please don't get a red.
That would have been bad.
No one
But
got
I don't
red.
think even if he had pushed somebody like and pushed them to the ground, I don't think that official would have thrown a red for that. He was barely throwing yellows.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. This official sucked. I watched him just slowly walk over, and it's like, what are you doing, man? They're scuffling. Even the line judge was just standing there watching. I was like,
well,
are you
Stockley
gonna
had
break
to
up the
pull
fight?
somebody off. Did you see that? Where Stockley had to like literally jump in there and pull him off?
Stockley, Balogun got in, and then like Diouf came back, and I think Diouf talks. I think Diouf talks, not in the sense where we could pick it up, but it's either he talks or he just frustrates players. Because this is not the first time some people have gotten in Diouf's face. So I think he's either a talker, which to each their own, or he just frustrates people in a sense. I don't know. Every player is a little different. But Stockley very much has to control Diouf at times. I've even seen him yell at him to like get up off the ground sometimes. So we'll see. But it was insane. Like he had no control. He didn't even seem to care to have control. He just literally let stuff happen.
Like, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or anything like that, but I've seen better officiating at the UPSL level than I've seen from that group, especially the main official in that match with Lexington on Saturday. Like it was bad. It was real bad.
It was very rough. I do not want him again.
No.
But we'll see what happens. But overall, like Lexington's looking good. They ran the same team they ran this past Saturday, same starting lineup and everything. It looks good. They had multiple free kicks or corner kicks, just couldn't capitalize. It happens.
Yeah.
The fact that they got a draw in this game gives hope. Yes, there's still kind of some points out. Knoxville finally snapped their streak against Fuego. So there's some points that can happen and change, but overall, I think this is hopeful and there's promise, and that we'll see going into this stretch where they have a two match weekend. We're gonna preview the Wednesday game because we'll be talking while that's going on, where they play Omaha. We don't have to
let's talk about that one. Well, it's later, right?
I think it's 8.
I think it's 8 your time or 8 my time.
8 my time.
Okay.
So 9 your time, I think.
No, wait, it goes the other way. It would be 7.
Yeah, it's 8 my time, so it's 7 kickoff central.
Okay, so
because Omaha's in the central.
So looking at this game, right? Like before we get too far into the show next week and forget to do it before kickoff, I really think Omaha is going to be coming for Lexington in this game. Like I think it's going to be chippy. I think they got a little bit embarrassed. I don't think they want to be at home and take another beat down like they did on the road at Lexington. So I really think this is going to be close. I think it's going to depend on, can Lexington keep that momentum going, right? This is two great results in a row. How can Stockley and the boys get another result now on the road?
Yeah, I fully agree. We haven't won on the road, but also uh, of their last five, uh, Omaha has been win loss win,
Yep.
and so we'll see what happens.
Yep.
They got a extra time winner against Tormenta this past game. They got an extra time winner against Knoxville, and then we rolled them. So we'll see what happens. Both terms have about the same turnaround for Omaha, and because it's three-day turnaround. Yep, same as the Tuesday, but they're the home team now, so we'll see. And then we play NoCo, who's kind of stumbled lately. They've had 2 straight losses, but NoCo
Come
is
on.
the team that they stumbled. I said stumbled. I'm not saying fell. It's their god, but they've stumbled. They lost 4-1 to Charlotte. The team that blows people out got blown out themselves. So we'll see what happens.
I'm going to go ahead and say right now that one's not going to go in Lexington's favor.
We tied them
I
already.
say that while wearing
We should have beat
green.
them. We should have beat NoCo. They should have 4 losses on the year. So, but we'll see. I'm seeing another draw or a Omaha win type thing. Honestly, we'll see. I'm only seeing a draw at most for Lexington because we're not that great on the road so
Yeah.
far. So anything can happen, though. I want them to get road points.
Yes.
So I'll take a draw. I'll take a win. Ideally, every single time. In any sense, I want to win for all Kentucky teams, but in realistic sense, I can see a draw. I'll dive more into this with my preview. They'll hopefully be up by tomorrow. So yeah.
Well, and John, we'll head into our last team to kind of talk about U.S. women's team. We've kind of already talked about it a lot, so don't want to spend too much extra time on it. Got the 1-1 draw against the Netherlands last week, came back to get it. Rose Lavelle, as I mentioned earlier, came into that game relieving Savannah DeMillo, and that's really when the attack picked up. I can't definitively say that's because Savannah was out and Rose was in, because I think more of how the match just played out also contributed to how Team USA looked in the second half with Rose Lavelle. But overall, the USA controlled the match a lot, out shooting the Dutch 18-4. And it just really showed a lot of resilience in a young squad, a very inexperienced squad on this level, to come back and get that draw. Any other kind of notes from you, John?
Yeah, I talked about it earlier. They very much are the better team. They were the better team. They just got unlucky. It happens, people. Calm down. It's a group stage. If it's a knockout, we can maybe a little freak out. Granted, in a knockout, we would have gotten the penalty, so that's a little different case. But it's gonna happen. First thing, the U.S. didn't win every World Cup. When they had Mia Hamm, who people argue is the greatest, I think she only won 2. I don't know if she was on the 91 team, but at most, Mia Hamm won 2 World Cups if she was on the 91 team, because I know she's on 99. But we didn't, after the famous 99ers who solidified soccer and women's soccer in America, we didn't win again until 2015.
Well, but they did win gold medals, right? There were other victories along the way. It wasn't just a complete
it wasn't
nothing,
just a
barren.
complete nothing. But I think people need to remember, there's flows in this type thing. Brazil had a bit of a break. They had a 20-year lapse before they won again after they lost Pele. And then they also are on another 20-year lapse without winning a World Cup. And you could argue Brazil is the ultimate team of semifinals or nothing.
Right. True.
So in terms of the men's side. So it can happen. I still think we'll beat Portugal. We've never conceded a goal to Portugal in their history. Granted, we've never played them in a competitive sense. We've only played them in women's friendlies. So we'll see
here's
what
kind of the
happens.
scenarios, right? Like the U.S. women's team can advance to the knockout phase by a win, a draw, or even a loss, depending on what happens in the other game. Like if Vietnam beats the Netherlands, holy smokes, like that would be impressive.
Yeah.
But that would also mean that our options would be any result of
If
would get result in advance.
If Portugal wins, we need Vietnam to win.
Yes,
If we
desperately.
draw, we need Netherlands not to beat Portugal by 4.
Yep.
Because I think, well, if they beat them by 3, it goes to fair play.
Oh God, I don't even want to think about that.
To which we don't have a yellow card, do we?
Yeah, Lindsey Horan got one.
Yes, that's right.
I just remember that one. But while you're looking
The
that up, Mike,
Netherlands have one. They got one in against Portugal, and I believe they got one against us.
I don't know. Like that ref kind of let things go as well. Pretty similar to how the
Roosevelt has
Lexington game went.
one. Yeah, Roosevelt got one. So we're even.
Yikes.
We're even on fair play, which I don't know what goes on beyond that. Yeah, so
No,
I don't know.
I'm not even going to act like I know the 4th tier tiebreaker. I don't.
Could be playoffs.
But oh my God, yes! Just straight penalty shootout. That's it. Just meet in the stadium just for a penalty shootout. But I think in this matchup against Portugal, right? I think Lindsey Horan is the key to our attack and our defense. She's somebody that can go forward and attack and score goals, but she can also give an extra layer of defense on the back end for when the U.S. either has a lead or when they just need to get back and make critical stops. So, to me, Lindsey Horan, this is your tournament so far. This is your time to shine and show America, show the globe that you are the best player on this team and you are the best player in this tournament. And I think it's time. Like, get another goal against Portugal, maybe 2. Show off your footwork. Maybe get a long bomb in or something like that. And I think at this point, Savannah has played great. It's been really interesting to see her get out there and perform as well as she has. But I think it's time Rose Lavelle needs to start. We need to bring her in just because she seems to give the offense a little bit more spark in the attacking end. And then, in the second half, pull her off if you're still concerned about her minutes and stuff like that. Put in Savannah at that point to ignite the attack, right? Because she's going to come in with a full head of speed and really deliver a good second half performance if that happens. But
personally, I say they should just keep DeMello on and bring on Lavelle if needed.
And from a management standpoint, I get that, right? Like you don't want to burn your entire team up just getting through the group stage. But if you're hungry and you're getting to the end of the game and you need to spark things the last 20 minutes or so, you're going to have to make that sub. And we're going to have to make more than one sub in a freaking match. FIFA gives you up to 5 across 3 windows to make subs. You've got to make subs. Like this team is good and these starters are great, but like you're going to burn them out before we can get to the knockout phase if you're just continuing to play them like this.
Yeah, and if you're up, I'll accept one sub. I won't accept one sub when you're down or and tied.
No shot.
Now, 2 tiebreaker things. In the unlikely chance that somehow we tie Portugal and the Netherlands, actually, I think then they would have to beat them by 2 because they would have to beat them by 2 or more. 2. Only 2. We'd be even on goal difference because the Netherlands has a goal difference of 1. It goes to how Champions League groups are drawn.
Oh my God.
They put slips of paper in a ball and just draw it randomly. So no coin flick, no playoff, no like anything. It's like, oh, you have the same number of yellow and red cards, and somehow every single thing is tied. There's no tiebreaker because they've tied each other. It goes to random draw.
Nope. Well, and I really think I don't think that's going to happen. I think
Oh no,
USA is going to win.
That's too many factors at play for that to happen.
Yeah, no way. But I think, and here's one of the biggest things I think that, right? I think Portugal is going to park the bus. I think they're going to play a heavy defense. I think they're going to pull back and not push forward. Because for them, if they get a draw, that's a huge thing. It won't put them through, but it's going to be huge for them.
I don't see them parking the bus. I see them going all out. That's not necessarily all out, but I don't see them parking the bus. They are very attack. They're a very attack heavy team. They scored 2 on Vietnam, so we'll see.
True.
They're an attack heavy team. They're not like Jose Mourinho.
No.
So, or Jose. So we'll see. It's very interesting, very much, in my opinion, if you're a U.S. fan, worthy of waking up at 3 or 2 a.m. to watch.
Oh, that's right. It would be like 2 a.m. for me. Oh, God, no. I'll catch the
in the sense of just turning on your TV.
I don't have a TV in my bedroom, though.
Why don't you have what grown adult does not have a TV in their bedroom, and for why?
Yeah. I don't. I don't have a good reason. I don't know. I don't. I had one as a kid, obviously, because it was like my room, but no.
Wife
and I don't have a TV.
As a child.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't allowed to have a TV, but they let me keep my laptop, which by the time I was like 12 was a TV because of YouTube.
Right.
YouTube and Netflix and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I didn't have any of that. I barely had a computer, so like having cable was like the entertainment that we could have. So, but John, any kind of final notes on this USA Portugal game before we give like a quick prediction?
The U.S. can win this game. They should win this game.
Should.
They very much should win this game. Don't take too much weight in group stage matches overall. As long as you make it out of the group, you still have to make it out of the group. It's not like guaranteed out of the group. But there's different strategy to group stage versus win or go home.
Well, and they would play the winner of Group D. Second place in Group E plays the winner of Group D, right? Does that sound right?
No, winner of Group D plays Nigeria. Because I looked that up.
Okay, but I'm getting 9 kinds of confused. So who would they play?
We're E.
Yeah.
If we win Group E, we play second in Group G. Not
Group
D.
G technically right now is Italy, but I honestly think it'll be South Africa at that point.
And then
if we win the group,
second we would play Sweden, then who's projected to win Group G.
Oh God. I mean, we got to take out Sweden at some point, right? But not in the first round of the knockout phase, if at all possible. Please and thank you.
We wouldn't get if we win our group, we wouldn't get Sweden until at least the semifinal.
True.
So we'll see.
John, prediction for the game. You think the final score will be
2-0 US.
Ah, dang it. You took my score. So just for that, I will say USA 1-0. Maybe a little bit of muddling of the waters by Portugal. Extra pressure from Portugal leads to USA not having that full forced attack. Maybe Rose Lavelle doesn't play or doesn't get in till late or something like that. Or, who knows? Maybe Savannah goes off and they win 3-0. Who knows? But with that, John, that will end another great episode of the Bluegrass Soccer Cast. We want to thank you all so much for watching and supporting this channel. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, even though Threads is dead, at BG Soccercast. Give us a listen on all your favorite podcasting platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Google, everywhere. And make sure to give us a like, a follow, a share, a subscribe, hit a bell, all those fun things that people ask you to do 100 million times when you're watching something on the internet. But thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm Jimmy. That's John. And we will see you on the next one.